The Great Outdoors, presented by Camp Abbott Trading Company.
The U.S. Forest Service is looking at opportunities to give access to off-highway vehicles to the trails of federal wilderness areas, but the latest proposal in the Ochoco National Forest is drawing criticism tonight. In this week's Great Outdoors segment, sponsored by Camp Abbott Trading Company, Brian Jennings looks at the ongoing debate between opening public lands to motorized recreation and preserving them for the wildlife that live there.
Few things spark more conflict among backcountry users than motorized travel. Those seeking the quiet solitude of wild areas often complain of off-road vehicles tearing up the landscape and disturbing wildlife. ATV users argue they also have rights to access and that there is room for all user groups to enjoy public lands. These arguments were weighed for 9 years before the Ochoco National Forest issued a decision this summer to construct a 137-mile Summit Trail system for off-highway vehicles.
The Summit off-road vehicle plan will be a disaster for the Ochocos, no two ways about it. This will be bad for wildlife. It will be bad for those who like to go hiking, camping, fishing in the Ochocos. It's going to be very unfortunate if it actually goes through.
Riggan Wilds, along with other groups, have filed suit against the Forest Service decision. That infuriates the Crook County patriots who favor the trail.
I'm so upset with it because there was all kinds of conversation. People had the opportunity of expressing their concerns, and everybody I know went down that road, and we sent information to the National Forest, and we did that. And then it just seems like every time we do that, our voice is just thrown out the window, then they file lawsuits. And I understand there's 2, maybe 3 lawsuits to try to change that. And you know how lawsuits are. 5 years later, we might get around to solving something.
The Oregon Hunters Association is critical of the decision.
The proposal or the plan the Forest Service has put in place has the trail system mostly in the high country, which is summer sanctuary for the elk. It'll be open during calving time, so it'll put pressure on elk and force them to move. We already have conflicts with elk and ranchers at lower elevations. So by putting that ATV and OHV, motorized high-speed vehicle pressure up high, it's going to drive elk down, we believe, to the private land where there's already conflicts. And that won't be good, because then the private landowners will complain about the elk on their private property, elk in their alfalfa fields and hay fields.
Larry Ulrich, president of the Ochoco Trail Riders, discounts those concerns.
I think that once this trail system is done, that most people won't even realize it's there, because everybody has to be muffled to a certain degree. You have to have spark arresters and silencers on your quads or motorcycles. And so I don't even people even notice that we're there.
Ulrich points the finger back at many hunters.
If you drive around the forest during hunting season and you look at all the hunting camps, what do you see? Quads. They all ride quads themselves, and half of them don't even know the regulations. They don't know that you're not supposed to go off-road, you're not supposed to retrieve game, you're not supposed to ride down these main roads that they do. There needs to be a lot more education.
Ulrich says a formal OHV trail system discourages illegal off-roading.
That's been proven in many, many forests and quite a few places where they've had problems. They've seen the problem, they've developed a trail system, and the problem pretty much goes away.
Riggan Wilds' Sarah Cuddy says off-roaders already have nearly 1,000 miles of organized trails in Central Oregon. She says there is no need for more in the Ochoco National Forest.
And the Ochocos are a very special place. They are kind of the secluded mecca here in Central Oregon, where we can ride our bikes, go horseback riding, camping, hunting, fishing, a place for quiet recreation. And so this plan really irrevocably would change the character of the forest moving forward.
So they mentioned lawsuits in that piece, and we know that one now has been filed by the Oregon Hunters Association.
That's correct. The Oregon Hunters Association feels that the Forest Service is disingenuous in ignoring its own research that shows that off-road vehicles and elk don't mix. It drives elk from public lands. And where do they go? They go to private lands, and guess what? That's where hunters don't have access. So it's a big, big issue. And I might also mention that the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife also spoke out strongly against this trail and does not want to see it built.
And this is one of those issues we're starting to see in Central Oregon where environmentalists and hunters are on the same page as far as what they want.
It very much is. They're at the same table on this issue.
All right, great. Thanks, Brian, for that report. And a special thanks to our great outdoor sponsors, Camp Abbott Trading Company in Sun River, for giving us the time and resources to explore the lakes, rivers, and mountains across our beautiful state every Wednesday night on Central Oregon Daily. We'll be right back.